What is up? What do you say, everybody? It's time for Crimson Tide headlines here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. He's Jay Barker. I'm Mick Gillespie. I don't know why I just cracked myself up. I haven't even told you guys to like and subscribe yet. Give the thumbs up. That's a way that you know that you love Alabama, and we know as well. That's your way of saying Roll Tide. Hit the bell so that you know when we're live, and then you can join us that way as well. And then don't forget, we are now part of the new world order of broadcasting in college sports. That is On3. And just like when the Hawkster joined Hall and Nash and they became this huge unit, we're doing the same thing. We want you guys to join as well. And it's really easy to do. You can get a full year of Bama Insider On3 for just $1. So go to BamaInsider.com. You'll get all the latest on recruiting, the message boards, all of that stuff at BamaInsider.com. All right, Jay, it's game week number 4, if you can believe it. Alabama takes on Vandy. That is this Saturday night at Bryant-Denny Stadium. But first off, how you been?
Man, I've been doing well. And, yeah, hard to believe we're already to week 4 of the season. Vanderbilt coming up. We talked about these 2 games being important for Alabama to get things kind of back on track in all 3 areas of the game: special teams, defense, offense. And I think they did that a lot against ULM. 8 minutes and 8 seconds worth of time of possession the first half. You're really going to get a chance to do a lot offensively. They did a lot as far as in the second half and, score the points. Defense on special teams. So really just an all-around win for the Crimson Tide, 63-7 over ULM. Now it's Vandy back to the SEC. Vanderbilt's had their moments throughout the year where they've played well, then haven't played well. So I think that their coach has them kind of heading in the right direction. Alabama's got to take this game very seriously. I think they have since that Texas game realized to go out play Alabama winning football, and Coach Saban continues to preach that. So excited about the game this weekend, excited about the crowd that's going to be in Tuscaloosa, and really get ready for a pretty tough SEC schedule coming up, especially on the road.
Jay, let me play a video. This is a big-time collegiate rivalry, and Vanderbilt in the past has not been afraid to call out Alabama.
What kind of win is this for the program?
We expected to get this. When you come to our house, we show you how to play some SEC ball. It don't matter where you're from. You're going to know what ball we play. We're going to next week ranked. That's fine. Alabama, you're next.
Before you go, what kind of win is this for the program?
We expected to get this. When you come to our house, we show you how to play some
When
SEC
you go to
ball.
our house. Well, this one's in Tuscaloosa. One more time.
We're going to next week ranked. That's fine. Alabama, you're next.
That is a great wrestling hype video right there.
And no, I don't know what ball he plays, so I have no idea.
What was it? It was a 19-point spread, and Bama won 59 zip. What was that, 2019 maybe?
Mm-hmm. Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
That was so funny when that was put out on social media. I mean, it went crazy.
I love those.
Vanderbilt, I mean, at times they've had some really good teams. I mean, not want to say great teams, but they've had teams that kept it close in these matches, especially because they catch Alabama usually early in the season. For some reason, it's always been that way. It's either been the second game or third game or fourth game. They never really catch Alabama late. And by doing that, I think they're healthier. They have more depth to be able to stay throughout the game. So you don't want to take any opponent lightly, especially an SEC opponent. You want to respect that. More importantly, respect yourself, the process that Coach Saban talks about, playing winning football, playing at the level you're supposed to play no matter what the scoreboard says, the competition, the jersey they got on, play your best. And he's been preaching that into them over the last couple of weeks. And hopefully they're buying in. I think they are. Great leaders in that team, and we'll be ready, as I said, for the SEC play coming up. It's going to be tough, especially when you go on the road to Arkansas, how well they played this year. And, even Texas A&M coming into town, LSU. I mean, think about all these matchups. Auburn will be back in Tuscaloosa, so that's good. But, these are the 2 games where it's kind of we can put some pieces back together. We can begin to form the type of attitude, the type of practice, the type of, things and how we got to execute every game, no matter who the opponent is. Coach Saban's been preaching that like crazy. So, I think that he's selling it. I think they're buying into it. And I think we saw a different team this past weekend.
Jay, when you were quarterbacking at Alabama, Vanderbilt put up some good fights against the Crimson Tide. And it took, what 1 year, wasn't it a punt return to beat them? I mean, it's over the years, and Alabama doesn't play Vandy that much anymore, but over the years, this actually has been a pretty good game.
It has been. And I think, too, the style of offenses have changed so much since then. I mean, then it was Coach Stallings if we were up 7-3, I mean, he was like, man, we got to, we're going to sit on it. We're going to play defense. We're going to punt. We're going to play conservative offense. So now it's just different. I mean, I think now the teams with the better talent, they really pull away and able to pull away from teams like Vanderbilt. So, yeah, there were some close games. There were, I think you mentioned one that was won by a punt return. Others we had to play, really great defense and offense. It was always a hot game. I remember those were always early September games that we played around 11:30 on Jefferson Pilot. So that's my memories of that. And always had a lot of respect for Vanderbilt, even though they weren't the toughest of teams. You still realize they were an SEC team that had great players. That a lot of the guys that we played against on whether it be Vanderbilt or against Southern Miss at that time were from our area, from guys that we'd played against in high school and played against in part ball and stuff. So we always had a lot of respect for them.
One of the things that I've kind of I put this in a nice way, criticized Vanderbilt for is that they haven't invested back in the football program. They had James Franklin. They were actually a really good team. They beat Tennessee a bunch. They recruited. And when he asked for more help from the athletic department, it really didn't come, right? There's a big chunk of money that they get every year, just like every team in the SEC. Where's that money going? And with college football, the landscape changing, do you think that there comes a day where the SEC says, hey, Vanderbilt, thanks for being here, but you really, in football, you just don't match our standards?
Yeah, I'm in Nashville a ton, as you know, and going by that stadium, we're just like, that's not even a SEC-looking stadium, the outside, the inside. And normally when Alabama plays there, they fill it up. I mean, that's the majority of the crowd is Alabama, most all the visiting teams. The Titans, we were talking about this earlier on the phone, they're looking to get a new stadium. Maybe they are able to take over the Nissan Stadium that's there now and use that for Vanderbilt's home stadium. That'd be awesome for them and especially for the SEC. But I don't know. I mean, just got to keep building the program. At one point in time, remember when Al's son, and which is crazy to believe has been done for 10 or 12 years, but he was playing golf at Vanderbilt. Great golfer, actually a great kicker in high school as well at Spain Park. And they had, it wasn't called an athletic director, but like an athletic superintendent or something like that. And then they were out trying to raise funds and raise money for the athletic department. And it had to be split up in these certain segments. Like you couldn't just go out and raise for the football team. You had to raise for everybody at one time. And it needed to be changed. I think they finally got a change in it. But you're right. When he was there, he was doing very, very well. And if they would have supported him and got behind that athletic department and really done things differently in the way that an SEC team should handle the funds and raising money and the type of facilities. I mean, Auburn's about to have a $100 million workout facility they've done now. That'll be opening up soon. Alabama's is hundreds of millions of dollars they put into their program since Coach Saban has gotten there. If you build it, they will come. You've got to build the facilities now, and that's where they spend the most of their time in college is at the athletic facilities and the training rooms, in the lounge rooms, and at the dining halls, which are now top notch. They just haven't caught up to where the SEC needs to be. They're trying to do it. I think there's some movements of trying to raise money and funds to get Vanderbilt to the standard with which you got to be at when you're playing in the SEC.
Yeah, right. And I just feel like there comes a point with the way that the landscape of college football is changing. There's some really good programs out there that would fit the blueprint a lot better than Vanderbilt. One year they lost every game and they went and got a kicker off of the women's soccer team. I mean, it's a great story, but that just kind of shows you where they are as a program where they don't even have guys that can kick, it just compared to everyone else, they don't win much. And, it feels a lot like playing Utah State or Louisiana Monroe to me going into this game. I guess Vanderbilt is improved this year. They've won 3 games. But I'm guessing on Saturday that it'll be another beatdown.
Yeah, and I think we used to keep them in to keep our grade point average up in the SEC, but I don't think you have to worry about that now. So many guys are graduating on time. They got great academic centers. But I agree with you. I've said for years that, maybe they deserve to be an Ivy League team, or maybe they deserve to be in an ACC, and then let's trade for a Clemson, or let's get a North Carolina. Yeah, and so that's the things that that have been talked about a lot. But I'd hate to lose Nashville as the market that it has. I just think Vanderbilt needs to step up, and they need to get the funding behind them. They need to get the alumnus behind them, the former players, and really build. I think that they've got a special place there now, and I think the talent in Tennessee high school football is getting better, especially in Nashville, where they can recruit to a lot of those Christian and private schools around there that, Trent Dilfer's coaching right there at Lipscomb, Father Ryan, which is, right there by us. So, you got so many talented players now coming out of some of these schools. And so it's right there in your home turf. And, the population's growing. It's younger. You're going to have a lot of younger kids coming up in the next 10, 20 years. Vanderbilt could build something special. So whether or not they want to get behind it, you just got to have vision for it. Maybe they'll get it.
Well, you know what? Georgia Tech was once in the SEC. They're in Atlanta. It's still an SEC city, although they don't have an SEC program there. Kind of an unforgettable, program, a lot like Vandy and Georgia Tech now.
Well, it
But
was
you're
Vandy,
right.
Georgia Tech, Tulane, Swanee,
Mhm.
right? I mean, all these different, like they were kind of the same type of school, and they were winning at that time,
Yeah.
and doing very well, especially like Georgia Tech being a part. I mean, a lot of the SEC fans, they don't realize all the teams that used to be back when the SEC was being built, like the Tulanes and the Georgia Techs. They have a lot of rich history, and also it shows that sometimes you have to move on from them and bring other teams in.
Yep.
And I think we're going to see more of that as it goes on, because you want the best matchups, you want the best games, you want the toughest conference in order to get to that playoff, the 12 teams, whatever else, but more importantly, to provide the entertainment value that the fans are paying a ton of money now. If they want to get these facilities, they got to charge the money, they got to get the donations. You better give them good games.
Yeah, and guys, before we move on to the next topic, they're trying to figure out who everyone's 3 teams are going to be that they play on a regular basis.
Mhm.
Just imagine being on the playground and, they're picking Vanderbilt's the team that no one wants to be paired with unless you just want to win, like
Oh, I do. I want Alabama to get them every year.
right. Yeah. But I mean, that's a game you're not going to want to watch. You're like, they're the last kid on the playground. They got to do something about it. They have the money. There's no more excuses for them. I think that the SEC ought to really think hard about having them in the future. If you're making this a football conference and all this other stuff that's going on in the world, they're to me teetering on being pushed out and get somebody else. And maybe I'm wrong, but guys, thank you for hanging out with us here on Bama Insider and the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Dean and William, and of course Jarvis on there in the message board. Keep those comments coming. We're paying attention. Brock, roll tide to you. Ron, great to see you hanging out with us today. Like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Share, tell your friends about it. We really appreciate you being here and talking Crimson Tide football with Jay Barker and me. And don't forget, hit the thumbs up. That's a way of saying roll tide. And when you hit the bell, when we go live, you know that we're live. Alabama's defensive players had a pool, right? And the pool was whoever scored the first touchdown got $20. Here's Will Anderson. Do we have the Will Anderson? Yeah, let's play Will Anderson talking about this. I love it.
It's crazy because in the locker room before the game, we was talking as a defense. He was like, everybody got to put in $20 for whoever get the first turnover. So like, I got the first turnover, so everybody got to give me $20. But
first off, how many players ended up putting 20 in the pot? How much you take home?
We got to see because they playing right now. They keep saying they trying to bring up this NIL stuff, saying Will Anderson doesn't need it. I tell them it's horse crap. So I'm gonna get my 20 out of everybody.
Yeah, Jay, I think if Will comes looking for his 20, I'm going to pay him.
Oh, no doubt about it. And here's the thing is that you want to keep him motivated, right? I mean, again, it's like you're playing your friends on a golf course, and it's in college, it's a penny a hole, right? Or a quarter a hole. Then it's $1, whatever. But when it was a penny or quarter, it meant just as much to get that money. I don't care how much NIL money he's got. He wants to win the pot because that was the bet and you're a competitor. So I love that. And I love the fact that they're doing that as a team because I think that brings you together. I mean, you got something that you're going for. Go get the touchdown. Who gets, it'll be amazing to see what all they're actually putting in the pot for different hits, for, sacks in the quarterback, for losses. But good for him winning it. He needs to collect all of his money. And if he doesn't, I feel sorry for the guy that didn't pay.
I think everyone's going to pay up. Jay, did you guys ever have something like this go on when you were at Alabama?
No, because we really couldn't do as much as they can now, I guess. I mean, there was, always kind of side things, or we called them bounties at the time. Can you
have a bounty?
off?
You probably had one on your head, though.
Oh, there's no doubt I had bounties probably on my head. And but
did you ever find out you did?
No,
nobody ever.
I just, no. I mean, hopefully not my own teammates, number one. But other teams that may have put those bounties out there, and that was big at that time. I mean, that was something that NFL teams were doing. I mean, I was in locker room seeing all that stuff happening. Guys throwing in the pot, get this guy out of the game on a kickoff return or punt return, all that type of stuff. So, but it kind of made it fun and interesting. Not that you wanted to hurt anybody or anything like that, but it was just seeing which guy was going to make the play and Will definitely made a great one this past weekend to get that interception for a touchdown. He's such a great athlete. I mean, his length is just unbelievable. They talk about how heavy his hands are, his extension, those type of things. He doesn't really remind me of Derek Thomas. He reminds me more of like a Lawrence Taylor type player, that long arms and can get to the ball and fast, as far as around, but can really create power, push. Derek Thomas just in the league on his own, in my opinion.
He's Jay Barker. I'm Mick Gillespie. Guys, give us a thumbs up as we talk Alabama here on Crimson Tide Headlines. We do it every Tuesday and Thursday after the press conferences, and we got you covered when it comes to Alabama coverage. So make sure that you're part of our channel, subscribe, and be part of the Bama Insider YouTube channel. All right, wide receiver distribution. This is obviously an area for Alabama that is lacking this year. I'm just saying wide receiver production, right? We're waiting for that person or two to step up and be the go-to number one target. Last year it was Mechie and Jamison Williams. This year, obviously the distribution isn't just stuck between two players. So, I mean, that's got to be, if you're anyone on the depth chart, I mean, that's got to be a good sign because you know that you might get the ball.
Yeah, look at that right there. I mean, games played, the number, 12 and 14. I mean, the two of the guys, Trayshawn's played great. Will continue to play better. I tell you, Latu, last year that set the record for tight end touchdowns. He's a guy that I think Bryce feels really comfortable with. Ja'Cory Brooks really stepping up over the last couple of games as well. Jermaine Burton's still trying to find a little bit of rhythm there with the chemistry with Bryce. And that's just going to take a couple more games. Jace is playing great out of the backfield. This is the guy I really like, number 17, Isaiah Bond. I really think he has a chance to be a really great player at Alabama. I think as he continues to learn the system and get that chemistry, but he can get down the field very quickly. Kendrick Law the same way, freshman. All these guys. They're really deep at about 6 or 7 guys on that receiver. And then you got Jameer coming out of the backfield as well, who's played so well this year. So I really can't wait to see how this offense plays against tougher competition, defenses, because I think you're going to have more opportunities of explosive plays when people say, well, we can come up and line up one-on-one with some of these guys, or we're not going to double cover or put 2 safeties deep. Instead, we're going to come up and play the run and do the things you're going to see against the Georgias, the LSUs, those type of teams. That's when we're going to see some of these maybe bigger explosive plays down the field. At least this time we got a little bit more vertical. Before this game, Bryce had not thrown a pass or completed a pass more than 15 yards, which was amazing to think that was all that he had at that time. So I think he's got a lot of great weapons. Your thoughts?
Well, look, I'm waiting, Jay, for someone to emerge as the go-to guy. I think all good teams, great teams have a go-to guy and someone that finds a way to get open in the big spots. I thought that was going to be Ja'Cory Brooks. And honestly, in the Texas game, it was, right? He made some catches down the stretch. Hard to say anything after the game against Utah State and ULM, just because they were just kind of such blowouts. But I think between now and Arkansas, someone's got to be that guy. Or, I like the distribution, but I just don't know that it's healthy. I think that like on great teams, you kind of have someone emerge or 2 people emerge as, hey, look, when I need something, here's the spot. And, and I'm going to go back to last year. Slade Bolden, I think, made a tremendous mistake not staying at Alabama. He didn't get drafted. He didn't make a team. I guess he's on a practice squad right now. The guy would be making money in the NIL, and he would be one of these guys at the top of this list for Bryce Young had he stuck around. And he would have been that bridge guy for Alabama.
No doubt about it. And when they get JoJo Earl back, that's going to be a key for them. And I think they'll get him back by Arkansas, if not the next game. He was really, had a great spring and all that. And just really the injury just, was something that you hope doesn't happen to a guy, especially like him, that you were going to rely on kind of being that Waddle type receiver in the slot. But I have been very impressed with Kobe Prentice. I thought Kobe's played really well as a true freshman coming out of Clear, Alabama, and really has, as far as a possession type receiver. But again, we talked about last week, just learning how to settle down in zone, do the things that he's got to do in order to be successful and become that go-to guy or one of the go-to guys. But I agree with you. Every quarterback, you got your 1 or 2 guys that you believe in. It's 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. I got to get the first down, and I'm going to look their way. I'm going to go after that guy, or at least, a couple of guys that I feel like that I've got the right chemistry, that I can get the ball out on time and know exactly where that guy's going to be. He trusts me. I trust him. We get the job done.
He's Jay Barker. I'm Mick Gillespie. This is Crimson Tide Headlines on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Like and subscribe, guys. Be a part of this. We cover Alabama every day. Any press conference with Coach Saban, the players. We have shows on each and every day, including Recruiting with Andrew Bone. That's every Tuesday night when we talk about everything going on with the Crimson Tide. Joseph Hastings, part of that. Clint Lamb, Kyle Henderson. It's a great group. We want you to be a part of it, so make sure that you like and subscribe. Hit the thumbs up. That's a great way of saying roll tide as we hang out with you on a Tuesday. And hit the bell so you know when we are live. And right now, you can join On3 just like we did. You can join On3, be part of Bama On3, BamaInsider.com, $1 for a year's subscription. Well, Jay, when I was working at the Crimson Tide Sports Network, I was told one time that even in Lee County, if you polled the people down there and said the most popular team in college football, who would that be? It's Alabama. And of course, I'm talking about Auburn's backyard. So the Crimson Tide are obviously a national brand, but I don't know if you realize that they're an international brand. And I want to bring this up because Alabama has a huge fan base in Mexico.
Mm-hmm. They do. And actually, Oscar Clariga, I think it's how you start, something like that. Clariga or somebody, that's his last name. Oscar's had me on his show like 3 or 4 times. And the first time I was on, it was like, I couldn't believe, he's like, here, all these different Mexico City, as well as all the different cities around Mexico and even in South America, and that he broadcasts to. And he's like, we have all these Alabama, and then I started getting all these comments I couldn't read. He was having to translate them for me. I was like, I didn't take Spanish. But so he's an awesome guy. He is so fun to be around. And he's actually going to hopefully be in our studio the next couple of days. Before he's been in town for, I think, for 2 weeks now.
Really?
But does a super job. He's done the national championship games. He'll go set up at the games for the bowl games, national championship games, SEC championship games. Has a great call to his second 26 that went all over ESPN. They actually carried that of him. So Oscar's a good dude, but here he is asking Coach Saban in the presser this past weekend.
Hello, Coach. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Oscar Cleriga from Claro Sports in Mexico City and 17 countries in Latin America. It's a great pleasure. Could you say some words to all the fan base, Alabama fans in Mexico and Latin America? Did you know that we broadcast the games to 17 countries down south the border? What is your opinion about that? And if you could say some words to all the people in Mexico. Thank you very much. Gracias.
Yeah, well, we appreciate all the fan support that we get in Mexico, and I wasn't aware of, all these places that, watch us, but I do know that we have an iconic brand that sort of spreads not only throughout the United States, but in some of the bordering countries in Europe. And I think that's a good thing for our program, and I know it's a great thing for our players, but, we appreciate the support. We love it that you love Alabama, and I'll just say roll tide to you.
All right, Jay. I figured out how to make Nick Saban smile. Get Oscar in there. Like I've never seen. Like he's trying not to smile too big at first, but then by the end, like he's let his guard down, and it's too late. The sports reporter Oscar from Mexico and the Latino Latin American Alabama fans obviously are Nick Saban's favorite. We just saw that.
I love it, and I tried to look up his name in Spanish. If you were to say, I think it's Sabana. Sabana is Saban is
Oscar Sabana.
No,
you mean Nick Saban's
Nick
name.
Saban.
Oh,
yeah, Nick Saban. And I looked it up, and I said, like, what's the meaning of Sabana? And it says beat Auburn. That was good.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Sabana, Nick Sabana.
I love that. Look, I didn't realize this at all. You guys were like, hey, what do you think about Alabama's Mexican fan base? And I was like, I thought, boy, okay, what are we talking about here? Let's see the video. I love it, man. And Trent went down for 4 months and did a league down there that he's kind of helped get started and help promote and stuff. And he was part of the team, and he also played a little bit, but not a ton. But they wanted to play so many minutes per game. He had a blast, and he said you just wouldn't believe the amount of people that are Alabama fans down here, that because of the brand and because of watching the national championships. I mean, think about it. If you're in 6 or 7 national championships over the last decade or so, you're going to get international attention, right? People are going to see you on these networks.
So the fan base for Bama growing down in Mexico. I love that.
Were you surprised at all when you played at Alabama? Did Alabama have an international fan base like they do now? Nick Saban even mentioned countries in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's as big as it is now. I mean, I know when Coach Bryant was coaching, I mean, you got to remember he would go out to California in the summer, spend a lot of time out there in LA. And the reason he did that because he could get away, go to the beach and not be seen or he could be seen, but people really didn't recognize him. But he would go have lunch with Bob Hope and go spend time with, all these different John Wayne, different movie stars and stuff. They'd all come back to Tuscaloosa to practice. But at that time, you didn't have social media, Mick. You didn't have the internet. You didn't have all this global reach. And now you do. And because of the success that Coach Saban has had and the type of players that he's recruited in, and now, it has become an international game. And again, that's because of the internet and streaming. And we're going to see more of that as it goes on. So Alabama, maybe is there going to be a University of Alabama, Mexico City?
Hey, I hope so. Look, I think it would be
that
great.
Would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, and something that has changed a lot since we were kids is the international reach of a lot of different sports. They kept saying when we were kids, soccer's the next big thing. And it took a long time, but it wasn't the MSL in this country or MLS or whatever it is. It was the European soccer leagues that came over here, and people really liked those. And I started noticing a lot of the interns that I would get from the universities to work with me during baseball would put the games on in the booth, and we'd be watching Liverpool and, other teams like that. And even some German leagues and Spanish leagues. And maybe that's kind of what we're seeing with college football. Major League Baseball plays games in Europe now and in Mexico. The NFL is in London. They want to have a team maybe even in Mexico City. I've heard that. Major League Baseball thinking about that. And who would have known Alabama football kind of branching out in that direction?
Yeah, I think Mexico City, would be a great place to expand from one of the that's because you stay in North America. Maybe even expand again back into Toronto and an area like that in Canada. If you want to go, I hate going across the ocean in order to play because I think just the time zones and all that stuff is crazy. But I will say this: many times I've been invited to go coach at a German quarterback camps and football camps.
Really?
Yeah, over the last 20 years, different invites whether it be for strictly football, some of it's been ministry stuff, but most of it's been strictly about going over and either helping coach camps or actually coaching teams. The sport, I agree with you. When I was little, they used to talk about soccer was going to be the big sport that was going to take over. And we're like, all of our football coaches would call it the communist sport. So that didn't take off very well, which it's not. So I'm not saying that about soccer players. Which
you sound like Kenny Powers. If you ever, who that guy is?
I think so.
The great baseball player.
Yeah. So, but Alabama women's soccer team is playing great right now. They just had a huge win last week.
Really?
Over number 5. I think they're ranked number 11, but they're probably up again this week as far as ranking. They're doing terrific. So, so it's a different world now. Everything's connected with the internet, with social media. Kids are watching things, seeing things. That's going to help every sport, but especially I think, football has continued to grow. Baseball, their fan base has shrunk a little bit. I think it's getting better and better. And a lot of the highlights and stuff that you see, but I think for Alabama to have a Mexico City UA, hey, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, guys, before we get out of here, let's get a couple of questions to chew on from the comment section. We appreciate all of you guys hanging out with us. Here's one. Do you think it's weird that Bama goes an entire game and doesn't throw one screen pass? What do you think about that, Jay?
Yeah, I think you want to try every way you can, whether it's making people move laterally or that screens, like outside screens or screens to a back. But I will say this, whether it be up tempo, whether it be, and I brought this up last week, and I may have brought it in the post game, but whether it be tempo, whether it be trick plays, those type of things, whatever those decisions are, a lot of those are determined by Bryce. So Bryce is not a big trick play guy. He wants to run things straight up, go down vertical down the field, run the ball, those type of things. And it's more of an NFL quarterback situation in Alabama right now than it's ever been, which I think is a good thing. He should have that type of input because he's a very smart player. He knows what he's good at, what he's confident in, and what he wants his team to run. So, I think Bill O'Brien sometimes gets the brunt of the heat or the people's criticism when a lot of times He's running what his quarterback and he and his quarterback have talked about throughout the week in order to prepare for that game. What are you smiling about?
Reagan at R&R wants to know why you haven't lived up to your stake bet from the Liberty UAB.
I love it.
He tweeted it at me. I'm sitting here reading. I
have got the best.
You better live up to that stake bet.
I totally forgot about it, but I will live up to it. And I've got a great place I just found out about here in Birmingham that I have to take Reagan. It's a great steakhouse.
I want to go with you guys.
Come on. We'd love it.
That's so funny.
I love Reagan. Oh my gosh.
All right,
he is a mess.
He is. Last question. What about Tyler Harrell? Have you heard anything update on Tyler Harrell? Because he could be someone to help them take the top off of the defense. It's a deep threat.
Yeah, I think two things. One is that he does have speed. He's overcoming a foot injury, so that's not good for a speed guy. But the second thing is that, remember, he's a speed guy going down the field, right? Going to catch balls, and mostly what he called at Louisville was deep balls. He's not that possession kind of go-to guy type receiver. Look at you smiling again.
I'm tweeting back at him.
And then so he will be the guy that can take the top off the coverage. He can do that type of stuff. But he's not really that receiver in mid-range, and unless he's becoming that. So he needs that foot to be healthy for him to be what Alabama needs him to be, and that's to be a guy that can get down the field and push the top off the coverage.
All right, Jay, tell everyone how they can follow you and check out your radio show. And they know that you'll be back here on Thursday, so we'll be doing this again Thursday about 2:10.
Yeah, Jay Barker Show at Jay Barker Show. That's the Instagram account, Twitter account as well. Jay Barker as well. You can follow there. On the show every day, noon to 2. Tide 100.9 FM, our flagship station. Crawford up in Birmingham and Anderson Gas in up North Alabama, down the Gulf Coast as well. And then doing this every day with you on Tuesday and Thursdays. And then we got our pregame and postgame shows as well on Bama Insider and On 3 Media.
Awesome. Yep. And we'll be Innisfree Friday night, 6 to 8. Swing by and yell Roll Tide at us. We'll be doing that show from there. And then you can hear that across the radio airwaves on Saturday, previewing Alabama and Vandy. But we got a lot of stuff going on. We'll update recruiting, anything that Nick Saban's doing right here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up. If you had fun today, comment section, people watching, thumbs up, Roll Tide to you. Hit the bell. That way you know when we're live for our next show. And you just don't forget, we're going to talk a lot about everything going on with the Crimson Tide, including Jalen Hale to commit on September 21st. We'll have coverage on that when it happens again as Alabama continues to build on the #1 recruiting class. And you can find out all those recruiting nuggets at BamaInsider.com. Bama Insider on 3, $1 for a year subscription. Andrew Bone, Joseph Hastings, they cover recruiting like a blanket. Jimmy Stein and Clint Lamb are on the message boards constantly. Check it out for yourself. $1 for a year. And if you don't like it after a year, then unsubscribe. But I would take advantage of it, guys, just so that you're a part of it. Jarvis, thank you for the great comments. All of you guys as well. Chris Daughtry behind the scenes, another fantastic job. And for Jay Barker, I'm Mick Gillespie. That does it for us today. Roll Tide, everybody. We'll talk to you again on Thursday.